For centuries, experts have tried to unlock the truth behind our greatest mysteries. But some secrets...
Imagine standing at the edge of history, staring into a past filled with secrets no one can fully explain, mysteries that defy logic, discoveries that raise more questions than answers, and puzzles that remain unsolved no matter how many experts dedicate their lives to unlocking them. Tonight we are going to dive deep into the strange and chilling world of unexplained history mysteries that experts can't solve. And trust me when I say this, each mystery is more shocking than the last, so stay with me till the very end because the final mystery will change the way you see history forever. But be warned, every 60 seconds you'll be left with a cliffhanger that will keep you on edge, so grab your seat, watch closely, and don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and share this journey with those who dare to question the truth, because what you're about to hear is not in your school textbooks. It's hidden in the shadows of history itself. Let's begin with one of the strangest books ever discovered, a book that nobody, not even the world's best cryptographers, can read, the Voynich Manuscript. Found in the early 20th century, this mysterious book is written in a language that doesn't exist, filled with drawings of plants that no botanist has ever seen, diagrams of strange celestial charts, and illustrations that seem both scientific and magical. It looks like a guide to another world. And for over 100 years, scholars, code breakers, even the FBI have tried to decode it. Some think it's a hoax, others believe it's the lost knowledge of a forgotten civilization. But here's the chilling part. Artificial intelligence, after analyzing the text, suggested that the language structure is consistent, meaning it isn't gibberish, it's real, and that implies someone, somewhere, once understood it. But who, and how, and why would they hide an entire book of knowledge in a language we cannot read? And just when you think it couldn't get stranger, some researchers believe the manuscript is a medical or botanical guide written for royalty, yet no one can match its plants or diagrams to anything in our world. Could it be evidence of contact with another civilization, one not from Earth, or perhaps knowledge erased deliberately from our history? But if the Voynich Manuscript is real knowledge, what is it trying to tell us? And what truth is being kept locked inside those pages? And here's where it gets even more unnerving. In recent years, a group of linguists claimed they had cracked a portion of the code, translating a few sentences into something resembling ancient Hebrew mixed with Latin. Yet the translation made no sense. One line supposedly read, "She made recommendations to the priest, to the house, to me and to the people," vague, cryptic, and unsettling, as though the book was never meant for common understanding, only for a select few. Now ask yourself, what kind of knowledge would be so important that it would be hidden in an unbreakable code, and more importantly, who were those select few that could understand it? But before you get comfortable, let me leave you hanging with this. Researchers noticed a recurring pattern in the book, as if it's a set of instructions. And one scholar suggested that if followed, it could open a path to something, perhaps even a device or a location. So the next question is chilling. What happens if someone finally cracks it? What will they unleash? And speaking of ancient devices, let's move to another mystery that seems impossible for its time. The Antikythera Mechanism, discovered in 1901 off the coast of a Greek island. This device was pulled from a shipwreck, at first looking like a corroded piece of bronze, but when cleaned, it revealed gears, cogs, and mechanisms so advanced that experts were stunned. It has been called the world's first computer, a machine built over 2,000 years ago, capable of tracking the movements of the stars, predicting eclipses, and even charting the cycles of the Olympics. Imagine that, an analog computer built before the Roman Empire even reached its height. Scientists using X-ray imaging reconstructed the mechanism and found over 30 interlocking gears, precision engineering that shouldn't exist for another 1,000 years. So here's the unsettling question. How did ancient Greeks, with their tools of chisels and bronze, create a device that rivals 18th century clockwork? Some argue they must have had help, lost knowledge, passed down from an earlier forgotten civilization. Others whisper that the knowledge came from beyond the stars. But here's where the cliffhanger comes in. Fragments of the mechanism suggest it was only part of a larger device, possibly far more advanced. So if this piece survived underwater for 2,000 years, what else is still hidden in the depths, waiting to be found? And even worse, what if it has already been found but deliberately hidden from the public? After all, history is written by the victors, and victors decide what knowledge we are allowed to see. But if this is true, then what are we being kept from knowing? And who benefits from our ignorance? Speaking of knowledge being erased, let's step into one of the greatest mysteries in American history, the disappearance of the Roanoke colony. In 1587, over 100 English settlers established a colony on Roanoke Island. But when ships returned 3 years later, the colony had vanished. No people, no bodies, no sign of struggle. Only one eerie clue carved into a tree, the word croton. Experts have debated for centuries what happened to them. Did they integrate with local tribes? Did they starve? Or was something more sinister at play? Because if it were simple famine, wouldn't there be skeletons, ruins, signs of desperation? But there were none. It's as if the entire colony simply evaporated. And here's where the hair stands on end. The word croton shows up again in history, connected to other vanishings. It was found scrawled into the bedpost of writer Edgar Allan Poe shortly before his mysterious death. It appeared in the logbooks of ghost ships, and even on sites of sudden disappearances. Coincidence, or a hidden thread of truth? What power does that word hold? And why did the colonists leave it behind as their only message? And here's your cliffhanger. Recently, researchers tested DNA from modern tribes in the area and found evidence of European ancestry long before mass settlements, suggesting that's some Roanoke. Colonists did survive and merge with locals, but that doesn't explain all of them. Dozens of men, women, and children simply gone. So the burning question remains, where did they go, and what dark truth were they running from? But before you answer that, let's push further back in time, to something buried under sand and stone, a wonder of the world that even today defies explanation. The Great Pyramids of Giza. Officially, historians claim they were built as tombs for pharaohs over 4,000 years ago, constructed by thousands of laborers hauling massive limestone blocks into place. But here's the problem. The Great Pyramid's alignment is almost perfect with true north, accurate to within 3/60ths of a degree, something even modern builders would struggle with. The base is nearly a perfect square, and the precision is mind-boggling. So here's the haunting question. How did people with no advanced tools achieve what even our best engineers find difficult? Mainstream archaeology says manpower, ropes, and ramps, but no one has ever found physical evidence of these giant ramps, and the logistics seem almost impossible. Some of the stones weigh over 70 tons, lifted and set into place with accuracy down to millimeters. So here's the cliffhanger. Recent scans revealed mysterious voids inside the pyramid, chambers we cannot access, as though something inside is deliberately sealed off. What secrets are hidden in those voids? Why would ancient builders construct secret chambers inside a so-called tomb? And could it be that the pyramids were not tombs at all, but machines, massive structures designed for a purpose we still cannot grasp? And if that's true, then what were they built to do? And if we ever find out, will it rewrite everything we know about human history? So we've just asked the question of whether the Great Pyramids were tombs or machines. But if you thought that was baffling, wait until we travel to a tiny island off the coast of Nova Scotia, a place where treasure hunters have been digging for over 200 years, convinced that something extraordinary lies hidden underground. Oak Island. It all began in 1795 when a teenager discovered a strange depression in the ground beneath an old oak tree. Digging revealed layers of wooden platforms every 10 feet, as if someone had deliberately constructed a shaft. But here's the haunting part. Every attempt to dig deeper has ended in disaster. The so-called money pit keeps flooding with seawater through a network of hidden tunnels, as if it was designed to protect whatever lies at the bottom. Legends say it holds the lost treasure of the Knights Templar, or maybe the manuscripts of Shakespeare, or even evidence that could rewrite biblical history. But here's the cliffhanger. Despite centuries of digging, no one has reached the bottom. People have died trying, millions of dollars spent, advanced drilling rigs destroyed by sudden cave-ins. And to this day, experts still cannot explain how 16th century or earlier engineers could have built a booby-trapped flood tunnel system so complex it defeats modern technology. So the burning question is not just what is buried there, but who went to such lengths to keep it hidden, and why? But before you can even answer that, let's take a trip across the world to Peru, where on a barren desert plateau lies one of the most mysterious artworks of all time, the Nazca Lines. Enormous geoglyphs etched into the desert floor over 2,000 years ago, depicting animals, plants, and geometric shapes, some stretching hundreds of feet across. The scale is so massive that they can only truly be seen from the sky, yet officially, the Nazca people had no way of flying. So here's the cliffhanger. Why would a civilization spend decades carving giant images in the earth that they themselves could never see? Mainstream scholars say they were ritualistic offerings to the gods, perhaps connected to water. But some lines are perfectly straight for miles, as though made with surveying tools far beyond their time, and some figures look eerily like runways, leading fringe theorists to believe they were landing markers for ancient visitors from the sky. But whether or not you believe in extraterrestrials, the fact remains, the Nazca people devoted unimaginable effort into creating something visible only from above, so the question is, who was meant to see them? And if the answer lies in the sky, then what kind of presence were they trying to call down? But as strange as drawings on the earth may be, what if I told you there's evidence of electricity thousands of years before Edison, hidden in a small clay jar known as the Baghdad battery, discovered in Iraq and dating back over 2,000 years. This humble pot contains a copper cylinder and an iron rod. When filled with vinegar or acidic liquid, it produces a small electric charge, essentially functioning as a primitive battery. Now here's the kicker. What would ancient people need a battery for? Officially, scholars dismiss it as coincidence or say it might have been used for electroplating jewelry. But think about it. What if it powered something we no longer have, a device now lost to time? Because electricity isn't something you stumble upon by accident. And here's your cliffhanger. Multiple Baghdad batteries were found, suggesting it wasn't a one-off experiment, but part of a larger practice. So what else were they using them for? And if electricity was in use thousands of years ago, then maybe, just maybe, our timeline of technological progress is completely wrong. But before that sinks in, let's head to the middle of the Pacific, where massive stone figures stare silently across the ocean. Easter Island's Moai statues, carved between 1250 and 1500 AD, each weighing up to 80 tons. Yet somehow transported miles across rugged terrain without wheels or beasts of burden. The local legend says they walked into place, which sounds absurd until modern experiments showed teams of people using ropes could actually rock the statues forward in a walking motion. But that doesn't explain the sheer size, precision, or why they were built at all. Some believe they were monuments to ancestors, others say they were guardians. But here's the most unsettling part. Under the statues are buried torsos, full bodies hidden beneath the earth, suggesting they weren't just heads but colossal representations of something greater. And here's the cliffhanger. Buried beneath some of the statues, archaeologists discovered hidden symbols, strange carvings that don't match known Polynesian traditions, as if the island was once influenced by a forgotten culture, maybe even one that vanished long before the Rapa Nui people. And this leads us to another disturbing mystery of ancient construction, the walls of Sacsayhuaman in Peru, a fortress made of giant stones, some weighing over 200 tons, cut and fitted together with such precision that not even a blade of grass fits between them. And they're not uniform blocks, but irregular shapes, almost like a giant 3D puzzle locked perfectly into place. So the cliffhanger is this. How did people with no advanced tools cut and move these megaliths, and why go through such impossible effort when easier methods existed? Some researchers suggest the stones were softened by a lost chemical process, others hint at ancient machines, but no explanation fully accounts for the scale and perfection. And this pattern repeats across the world, from Baalbek in Lebanon with its trillion-pound stones, to Puma Punku in Bolivia where massive blocks are cut with laser-like precision, holes drilled straight through granite as if done with diamond-tipped tools. So here's the question you need to ask. Why do so many ancient cultures, separated by oceans and thousands of years, all share the same inexplicable mastery of stonework, unless they were inheriting knowledge from the same forgotten source? But here's where it gets darker. When explorers first arrived at Puma Punku, local legends told them the gods built it in a single night, using sound and light to move the stones. A description eerily similar to modern theories of anti-gravity. Now imagine that, thousands of years ago, knowledge of manipulating stone at the atomic level, knowledge now lost or deliberately hidden. And speaking of knowledge hidden in plain sight, let's not forget the Shroud of Turin, a linen cloth bearing the faint image of a crucified man, believed by millions to be the burial shroud of Jesus. Tests in the 1980s dated it to the Middle Ages, labeling it a forgery. But here's the twist. Newer tests contradict those results, showing the cloth could indeed date back 2,000 years. The image itself is another unsolved mystery, not painted, not burned, not printed. It seems to have been seared onto the cloth with a burst of radiation, yet no one can replicate it even with modern technology. So the cliffhanger is this. If it is authentic, then it's physical evidence of the resurrection, a supernatural event captured in fabric. And if not, then who in the Middle Ages had the knowledge to create something still impossible to reproduce today? Either way, it's a riddle that refuses to die. But before you settle on an answer, let's move to another relic, one that points to a global cataclysm. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, the world's oldest known temple, dated to 12,000 years ago, built at a time when humanity was supposed to be hunter-gatherers with no architecture. Yet here stands a massive stone complex with intricate carvings of animals and symbols. The site was deliberately buried thousands of years after it was built, preserved under layers of soil, as though someone wanted it hidden. And here's your cliffhanger. One of the carvings appears to depict a comet strike, aligning with theories of a massive global disaster around 10,000 BC, possibly the event that ended the Ice Age, wiping out entire civilizations. So if Göbekli Tepe is real evidence of advanced societies existing long before history officially begins, then everything we've been taught about human progress is wrong. But the bigger question is, who built it, and what knowledge did they carry that we no longer have? And speaking of lost civilizations, let's not ignore Atlantis, dismissed by scholars as myth, yet referenced by Plato as a real place, a highly advanced society swallowed by the sea. Modern satellite imagery has uncovered strange structures beneath the ocean, particularly near the Bahamas and the Mediterranean, some resembling roads, walls, even temples. But governments rarely fund deep investigation into these sites, leaving us to wonder what truth lies hidden beneath the waves. And here's the cliffhanger. In the Sahara Desert, an enormous circular formation called the Rikat structure, or the Eye of the Sahara, matches Plato's description of Atlantis almost perfectly. Concentric circles of land and water, the right size, the right location. So the chilling thought is this: has Atlantis been sitting in plain sight all along, buried in desert where it was once a sea? And if so, why hasn't mainstream history acknowledged it? What truth would it unravel if the world admitted that advanced civilizations existed long before Egypt or Mesopotamia? And what secrets did they take with them when they fell? Now as we connect these dots from the pyramids to Oak Island to Atlantis, one thing becomes clear: history is not a straight line. It's a puzzle with missing pieces deliberately kept from us. And here's your cliffhanger: the deeper we dig, the more it seems that something, or someone, has been erasing the truth, covering up knowledge that could completely rewrite our place in the universe. And the biggest mystery is not just what we've lost, but who doesn't want us to find it, and why. So far we've uncovered lost civilizations, impossible technologies, and hidden structures that defy our understanding of history. But if you think the past has run out of secrets, you're mistaken, because now we travel to the early 1500s when an Ottoman admiral named Piri Reis created a world map that should not exist. The Piri Reis map, drawn on gazelle skin in 1513, it depicts parts of Europe, Africa, and South America with astonishing accuracy, far beyond the knowledge of the time. But here's the chilling part: it also shows the coast of Antarctica, not discovered until 1820, and it's drawn without ice, displaying mountains and rivers beneath the frozen surface, something we only confirmed in the 20th century with modern radar mapping. So how did a 16th century mapmaker know the topography of Antarctica thousands of years before humans officially saw it? Piri Reis himself claimed he copied older maps, now lost, dating back to ancient civilizations. Some theorists say those maps originated from a seafaring culture that existed before the Ice Age, maybe even Atlantis. So the cliffhanger is this: if fragments of those maps survived into the 1500s, where did they come from, and how much else has been erased? What if the Piri Reis map is just one surviving clue pointing to a forgotten global civilization? But before we try to answer that, let's jump to Japan, where strange clay figures called dogu, dating back over 2,000 years, depict humanoid beings with large eyes, odd suits, and helmets that look eerily similar to modern astronaut gear. Scholars dismiss them as fertility figures or spiritual idols, but their designs are unlike anything else in Japanese art. So here's the unsettling thought: why would an ancient culture, with no knowledge of space, create figurines that look like beings in advanced suits? And here's the cliffhanger: some dogu even have details resembling breathing apparatuses, as if the sculptors were replicating what they saw. Could it be that they were recording encounters with something not of this earth? And if so, who were these visitors? And why did they leave behind only fragments of memory encoded in clay? But if you think ancient artifacts couldn't get stranger, consider the crystal skulls, carved from solid quartz, said to be pre-Columbian but with no tool marks detectable. Some skulls are so perfectly symmetrical they seem machine-made, yet quartz is notoriously hard to carve even with modern equipment. Legends claim they hold mystical powers, knowledge of the universe, even memories encoded within them. Scientists remain baffled, unable to explain how such precise carvings were made with primitive tools. So here's your cliffhanger: when placed under certain frequencies, some of the skulls emit strange energy readings, almost as if they are storing information like hard drives. Could it be that these skulls are not just art, but ancient data banks, repositories of knowledge left behind by a lost culture? And if that's true, then who left them, and why scatter them across the world? But while artifacts can be carried, some mysteries lie deep underground, like the vast subterranean cities of Derinkuyu in Turkey, capable of housing 20,000 people with ventilation shafts, wells, and tunnels stretching for miles. Built thousands of years ago, officially they were used as hiding places from invaders. But the sheer scale and engineering mastery raises bigger questions. Who had the knowledge to carve entire cities into solid rock, and why go underground in the first place? Some believe it was to survive wars, others whisper it was to escape something from above, maybe a disaster, maybe something else. But here's the cliffhanger. Archaeologists discovered sealed stone doors weighing tons, designed to block tunnels from within, as if they weren't just hiding, but protecting themselves from something trying to get in. So what could have driven entire populations beneath the earth, and could the answer tie into something larger? A pattern of ancient global catastrophes that wiped out advanced societies. Speaking of catastrophes, let's jump forward to Siberia, June 30th, 1908, when a massive explosion flattened 80 million trees across 800 square miles in the Tunguska event. Witnesses described a fireball streaking across the sky before a blast 1,000 times stronger than Hiroshima lit up the atmosphere, yet no impact crater was ever found. Some scientists say it was a meteor or comet exploding mid-air, but no fragments were discovered. And here's where it gets strange. Later expeditions reported the ground showing signs of extreme heat and trees stripped bare but standing upright, like shock waves radiated from above. So the cliffhanger is this. Some researchers believe it wasn't a natural event at all but something artificial. Maybe a crashed craft, maybe an energy weapon. And here's the kicker. Locals had legends of a fiery god descending from the sky long before the event. So was Tunguska a random accident, or a repeat of something the people already knew? And if so, what truth lies buried in the permafrost still unexplored today? But if the skies hold answers, so does the sea, and perhaps the strangest mystery of all is the Yonaguni Monument off the coast of Japan, an underwater structure resembling step pyramids, terraces, and carved pathways. Some experts insist it's natural rock, but divers have documented right angles, stairs, and even carvings resembling animals, suggesting it's man-made. And here's the cliffhanger. Carbon dating of artifacts nearby places it over 10,000 years old, which would mean it was built before sea levels rose at the end of the last ice age. So if that's true, then it's proof of a sophisticated civilization long before recorded history, one swallowed by rising oceans and erased from memory. And if such a civilization once thrived, then what else lies beneath the waters, waiting for us to rediscover it? And more importantly, why have governments shown little interest in fully excavating it? Could it be that they already know, but choose not to tell us? And if you think that sounds far-fetched, consider another forbidden mystery, the Dropa stones discovered in China in the 1930s. Small stone discs with spiral grooves resembling records, said to contain microscopic hieroglyphs telling the story of a people called the Dropa who came from the stars, crashed on Earth, and could not leave. Skeptics call it a hoax, but many of the stones mysteriously vanished after initial studies, leaving behind only conflicting reports. So here's the cliffhanger. If the Dropa stones were real records of contact, then where are they now? Who took them, and why? Are they locked away in a vault because they challenge our view of history too much? And this theme repeats again and again. Artifacts found, briefly studied, then lost, dismissed, or discredited, as though there's a pattern of erasing uncomfortable truths. And this brings us to perhaps the most controversial theory of all, that humanity's history is not linear, but cyclical. Rising civilizations that achieved incredible knowledge, then collapsing through disasters, wars, or perhaps deliberate erasure, and each time, only fragments remain, confusing and haunting us centuries later. From the pyramids to the Pyre Reis map to underground cities, they all hint at something bigger. But here's the cliffhanger. What if we are not the first advanced civilization? What if humanity rises, falls, and rises again, each time forgetting the past? And what if we are headed toward another fall, a cycle destined to repeat? Stay with me, because the final mysteries will challenge everything you thought you knew about history. And if you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe, and keep watching, because what comes next will keep you awake tonight, I promise. We've uncovered lost cities beneath the seas, artifacts that should not exist, and disasters that may not have been accidents. But now let's move into the most disturbing mysteries of all. The ones that hint at truths humanity might not be ready to face, starting with the voyages of the Olmecs and the possibility of global contact long before Columbus. Carvings and sculptures in ancient Mesoamerica depict faces with distinctly African and Asian features, massive basalt heads that do not match Local populations, suggesting contact across oceans thousands of years before history says it was possible. Mainstream scholars dismiss this, but traces of nicotine and cocaine, plants native only to the Americas, have been found in Egyptian mummies. So here's the cliffhanger. How did substances from the New World end up in the Old World thousands of years before transatlantic travel was supposed to exist? Unless global trade and contact happened long before recorded history, and if that's true, then what other connections were erased? But if human connections are shocking, wait until we look at the mysteries written in the sky. The Dogon people of Mali have legends of beings who came from the star Sirius, describing its companion star Sirius B, invisible to the naked eye and not officially discovered until modern telescopes. The Dogon knew it was a dense star with a 50-year orbit, knowledge they should not have had. So here's the cliffhanger. Where did they get this information? Coincidence, or contact with something beyond? And if they were right about Sirius, what else in their legends might be true? But legends alone can be dismissed, so let's turn to something harder. The giant stone spheres of Costa Rica, perfectly round, some weighing over 15 tons, scattered across jungles with no clear purpose, carved centuries ago. Yet their precision is so great they rival modern machining. Why would an ancient culture dedicate itself to carving perfect spheres? Some say they were status symbols, others say astronomical markers. But the cliffhanger is this. Local legends claim the spheres hold secrets of the universe, that they align with constellations when placed correctly. But we've lost their original positions, so have we lost the key to unlocking their meaning forever? And speaking of alignments, across the world countless megalithic sites align with solstices, equinoxes, and star patterns, from Stonehenge to Machu Picchu, from Angkor Wat to Teotihuacan, all oriented with precision to celestial events, as if ancient builders shared a common global language of the stars. But here's the cliffhanger. Modern astronomers calculated that the pyramids of Giza align with Orion's belt perfectly, but not today. The alignment matches the sky as it looked over 10,000 years ago, long before the pyramids were supposedly built. So either the builders had advanced astronomical knowledge, or they were inheriting designs from a civilization older than we dare to admit. But if ancient cultures all shared this knowledge, who taught them? And why does it always point upward, toward the stars? And here's where we close in on the greatest unsolved mystery of all. Why is history filled with deliberate gaps? Burned libraries like Alexandria, vanished records, artifacts that disappear after discovery, forbidden digs sealed off from the public. What is so dangerous about the truth that it must be hidden? Could it be that the story of humanity is not one of slow progress, but of cycles of rise and collapse, each time knowledge reaching heights we cannot imagine before being wiped out, leaving behind only fragments we mistake for miracles? And if that is true, then here's the ultimate cliffhanger. What if right now we are living at the peak of another cycle? What if the same forces that erased civilizations before are waiting for us, watching, preparing? And what if the secrets of the past are not just about where we came from, but warnings about where we are going? Mysteries that experts can't solve, not because they are impossible, but because someone doesn't want them solved. And maybe, just maybe, when the next great mystery reveals itself, it will already be too late. And now it's your turn to decide. Do we keep accepting the official story, or do we dare to look deeper, beyond what we're told? If you've made it this far, you're part of the few who dare to question the shadows of history. So hit that like button, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments, because the biggest mystery of all might be waiting in plain sight. And the question you need to ask yourself right now is this: if everything you've been told about history is a lie, then what truth is still out there, buried, waiting, and who will find it first?